All right, let's jump into a deep dive that takes us straight into the heart of Spain.
Sounds good.
We're going to be exploring the world of Antonio Machado,
Okay.
specifically his poetry collection, Fields of Castile,
Hmm.
which he published in 1912.
Interesting.
I mean, you publish a book during a national crisis.
Yeah.
That's dedication. But in Machado's case, it was more like an outpouring, I think.
Right.
We've got his life, the Castilian landscape,
Yeah.
themes of love, loss, and national identity all swirling together in his work.
Absolutely.
Plus, we'll touch on this group of thinkers called the Generation of 98,
Okay.
because they were pretty important in Machado's whole scene.
Yeah. What's fascinating about Machado is that he doesn't just describe Castile. He
Yeah.
makes it come alive.
Okay.
He uses it as a way to explore these universal human experiences
Yeah.
that we all grapple with.
I'm thinking Spain in 1912 must have been a pretty intense backdrop for this kind of poetry.
Yeah.
What was the vibe like back then?
Picture this. Spain had just recently lost its colonies.
Okay.
And there was this feeling of decline, like their place on the world stage was shrinking, and it sparked a major identity crisis.
Oh, wow. So it was like the whole country was going through a collective existential crisis.
You could say that.
Yeah.
And that's where the generation of 98 comes in.
Okay.
These were intellectuals and artists who were trying to figure out
Yeah.
what it meant to be Spanish in this new reality.
Okay.
Machado was right there with them, using Fields of Castile to wrestle with these big questions.
So Machado moves to Castile, and suddenly it's not just about pretty scenery.
Right.
It's about this deep dive into Spain's soul.
Mm-hmm.
And then to top it off, he experiences a major personal loss while he's there.
Oh, wow.
Did that have an impact on his work, you think?
Absolutely.
Okay.
When Machado moved to Soria, a city in Castile,
Yeah.
he didn't just relocate. He immersed himself in the spirit of the region.
Hmm?
The stark beauty of the landscape, the vast plains and rolling hills, they all became his muse. It was against this backdrop that he explored both personal and national themes,
Wow.
but on a personal level,
Yeah.
he fell deeply in love with Leonora Izquierdo.
Okay.
They married in Soria,
Mhm.
but tragically, she dies very young.
Oh, my.
This loss echoed those feelings of national decline
Yeah.
and infused his work with an even deeper contemplation of life, death, and the passage of time.
Talk about life imitating art.
Yeah.
But how did he actually use Castile as a metaphor?
Okay.
Did he literally say, hey, Castile, you're Spain in disguise?
It's more subtle,
Huh.
but incredibly powerful. He doesn't just describe the Castilian landscape, he reveals its soul, which he saw as a reflection of Spain's soul.
Okay.
He shows us this stark, austere beauty,
Yeah.
but there's also this strength and resilience there.
Okay.
He portrays the Spanish spirit as enduring hardship with quiet dignity, holding on to tradition,
Yeah.
finding beauty even in struggle.
So instead of saying Spain is sad, he'd paint this picture of a lone tree clinging to a rocky hillside.
Exactly.
And you just feel that Spanish sadness.
Exactly. And it's not romanticized.
Okay.
He doesn't shy away from Spain's problems,
Mm-hmm.
but he finds beauty and strength within them.
Yeah.
One example that comes to mind is the opening of the Castilian field.
Yeah.
The land of Castile, land austere and bare, beneath a sun of fire, eternally clear. It's dry, harsh, even desolate.
Yeah.
But then there's that powerful sun image,
Yeah.
like a symbol of enduring strength and clarity.
Okay.
It perfectly captures how Machado saw both the beauty and the struggle within the Spanish spirit.
It's like he's saying, yeah, things are tough, but we've got this inner fire that keeps us going.
Yeah.
But then there's the structure of Fields of Castile.
Mm-hmm.
Did he just throw poems together randomly?
Right.
Or was there a method to his poetic madness?
The structure is really interesting.
Okay.
Field of Castile is divided into 3 sections, and each one serves a purpose.
Okay.
The first section sets the stage with descriptive and philosophical poems.
Yeah.
He reflects on the landscape
Okay.
and ponders big questions about life, death, and national identity.
Right.
Then in the second section, you get hit with these deeply personal elegies
Okay.
inspired by Leonore's death.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a mood shift.
Yeah.
And finally, he offers these nuggets of wisdom and moral reflection in the third section,
Okay.
which is full of proverbs and songs.
So it's like you're on this journey with him.
Yeah.
You start with these grand reflections on the landscape and identity.
Right.
Then dive into his very personal grief and end up with these universal truths.
Yeah.
Did his writing style evolve as he went through these different phases?
His style definitely evolved.
Okay.
You'll notice that he moves away from that flowery language
Yeah.
that was popular back then
Yeah.
and goes for a more clear, symbolic expression.
Okay.
He's not trying to impress you with fancy words. He's aiming straight for the heart.
This brings us to the juicy part.
All right.
What are some of those big overarching themes
Yeah.
woven throughout these different sections of Fields of Castile?
Okay.
What was he really trying to say?
We've already touched on some of them,
Okay.
but let's break them down a bit further.
Okay.
One of the most prominent themes is the connection between nature and human emotion.
Okay.
He uses natural imagery to reflect on feelings of solitude, dignity, and resilience,
Yeah.
almost suggesting that these qualities aren't just human traits.
Okay.
They're embedded in the land itself.
It's like he's saying the Spanish landscape has shaped the Spanish character.
Yes.
Wow.
And intertwined with this is his deep contemplation of time's passage.
Okay.
He grapples with the fleeting nature of life, the fact
Yeah.
that everything changes and fades, especially after experiencing Leonor's death.
Right.
And this theme ties into Spain's sense of historical decline.
Yeah.
He uses images of autumn, twilight, fading light. You can feel that sense of melancholy and loss,
Yeah.
both personal and national.
He's blending the personal and the political in a way that's both heartbreaking and thought-provoking.
Yeah.
It reminds me of how people say grief is universal. It's personal,
Yeah,
but it also connects us to something bigger.
that's a great point.
Yeah.
And speaking of connections,
Hmm.
the theme of national identity is huge in Fields of Castile.
Okay.
Machado uses Castile as a microcosm of Spain itself,
Right.
embodying both its strengths and its weaknesses.
Yeah.
Its past glories and present struggles.
Wow.
It's like he's holding up a mirror to the country saying, this is who we are, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
So how does he actually portray those strengths and weaknesses? Does he give us a list,
Right.
or is it more nuanced than that?
It's definitely nuanced.
Okay.
He critiques what he sees as societal decay, a loss of traditional values, and a disconnect from the land.
Yeah.
He's clearly concerned about the state of rural Spain,
Yeah.
the poverty, the lack of progress. But here's the thing.
Okay.
He also finds hope in those same traditional values,
Okay.
in the people's resilience,
Yeah.
and their deep connection to the land. He seems to suggest that by returning to those core values, by reconnecting with the Castilian soil,
Yeah.
Spain could find its way back to greatness.
He's walking this tightrope between criticism and hope.
Right.
It's not all doom and gloom,
Yeah.
but it's not all sunshine and roses either. He's acknowledging the complexity of the situation.
Right. And this is where Machado's genius shines through. He's able to hold these seemingly contradictory ideas at the same time.
Okay.
Love and loss, critique and hope, individual experience and national identity.
Wow.
He doesn't offer easy answers,
Yeah.
but he invites us to think critically, to see the nuances, and to grapple with these big questions alongside him.
And of course, we can't forget about love and loss.
Right.
Those themes that seem to be at the very core of this collection.
Yeah.
I mean, losing someone you love so young
Yeah.
has got to change your whole perspective on life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Leonor's presence, even in her absence, is woven throughout the poems.
Okay.
She becomes a symbol of idealized love,
Yeah.
purity, and innocence.
Wow.
Her death fuels his philosophical musings on the nature of time,
Okay.
the fragility of life, and the enduring power of memory. It's like he's trying to understand the universe through the lens of his grief.
I could see how her loss would become this catalyst for his deepest reflections.
Yeah.
And then there's that third section of the book,
Wow.
the Proverbs and Songs.
Yeah.
Why include that? Was he trying to lighten the mood after all that heavy stuff about death and national identity?
It might seem like a change of pace,
Yeah.
but it's more than just a mood shift.
Okay.
It's almost like he's drawing on the collective wisdom of generations past
Yeah.
to make sense of the present,
Okay.
offering these bite-sized pieces of wisdom and moral reflection.
Okay.
These proverbs and songs really showcase Machado's search for meaning
Right.
in an uncertain world.
So it's like he's grounding himself in something bigger than himself.
Yeah.
Something timeless and enduring. He's connecting to this shared history
Right.
and cultural heritage.
Exactly.
But before we move on,
Okay.
we've got to talk about the elephant in the room.
Hmm.
Or should I say the symbol in the landscape?
Okay.
What are some of the key symbols we encounter in Fields of Castile?
Oh, there are so many.
Okay.
We've already touched on the Castilian landscape itself as a symbol,
Right.
but there are others that play a significant role.
Okay.
The path, for example, represents life's journey,
Mm.
the search for meaning,
Yeah.
and the possibility of hope.
Okay.
Even when things are tough,
Right.
then there's water,
Okay.
which often symbolizes purity, renewal, and the continuity of life
Yeah.
amidst the dryness and austerity of Castile.
I'm noticing a pattern here.
Yeah.
He takes these simple, everyday elements
Right.
and turns them into something profound.
Exactly.
It's like he's saying, look closer.
Yeah,
There's meaning hidden in plain sight.
you're getting it.
Okay.
And of course, there's the sun, which we've already mentioned.
Yeah.
It represents knowledge, clarity, and hope.
Okay.
It's like he's saying, even in the darkest times, there's always a light shining somewhere.
Yeah.
You just have to find it.
But how do these symbols actually function within the poems?
Okay.
Are they just pretty decorations, or
Yeah.
do they do some heavy lifting?
They do some serious heavy lifting.
Okay.
Let's go back to that poem, Portrait,
Okay.
where he describes Leonore. Remember how he uses sunlight to represent her beauty and vitality? Well, there's another striking image in that poem.
Okay.
Her eyes were wells of dark, profound.
Wow, that's deep. What do you make of that image?
It's interesting because it contrasts with the sunlight imagery.
Okay.
Her eyes,
Yeah.
the windows to her soul, are described as wells of dark,
Right.
suggesting depth, mystery,
Yeah.
maybe even a hint of sadness.
So even within the same poem, he's using contrasting imagery
Yeah.
to create this multi-layered, complex portrait of Leonore.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it's not just visual imagery.
Okay.
He uses sounds and smells
Yeah.
to create a sensory experience for the reader. For instance, in the poem Orillas del Duero, which translates to banks of the Duero,
Okay.
he writes, "The wind sighs in the poplars, and the river carries the scent of rosemary and thyme."
I can practically feel that breeze.
Yeah.
And smell those herbs as you read those lines.
It's the point. He's
Yeah.
transporting us there.
Wow.
But these sensory details are often loaded with symbolism, too.
Okay.
The sighing wind might suggest the passage of time.
Yeah.
The river's flow could represent life's journey, and the scent of herbs might evoke memories
Okay.
or a sense of place.
It's like he's orchestrated this symphony of meaning and emotion,
Right.
using words as his instruments.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's this attention to detail, this way of weaving together imagery, sound, and symbolism that makes his poetry so captivating.
Wow.
It's not just about reading the words.
Okay.
It's about experiencing them with all your senses.
This has been an incredible overview of Fields of Castile.
Yeah.
I'm already starting to understand why this work is considered so important.
Right.
And I'm ready to delve deeper into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
So when we come back,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about Machado's specific style
Okay.
and how he crafted his poetic vision.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I think you'll be surprised by how much depth and nuance
Okay.
he packs into his seemingly simple language.
We'll be back soon to continue our exploration of Antonio Machado and Fields of Castile.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into Fields of Castile.
Before we went on our little tangent about symbols, we were talking about how Machado's work has this universal appeal.
Right.
But now let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and look at the craftsmanship that makes his poetry so powerful.
Yeah, let's talk style.
Okay.
We mentioned that Machado moved away from that flowery, ornate language
Right.
that was common among poets back then.
Yeah.
So what is his style?
Okay.
What makes his voice stand out?
What strikes me is how deceptively simple his style is. He uses clear, concise language.
Okay.
It almost feels conversational at times.
Yeah.
But there's this hidden depth,
Okay.
a richness of symbolism that you uncover as you read.
That's like those magic eye pictures where you have to relax your gaze to see the 3D image.
Yeah.
You have to read Machado's poems in a similar way,
Mhm.
kind of relax into them
Yeah.
and let the deeper meanings emerge.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And because his language is so clear, it makes his poetry accessible to everyone. He's not trying to show off with fancy words.
Hey.
He's trying to connect with you on a human level.
He's like, forget the frills, let's talk about real stuff.
Exactly.
But I bet even with that simplicity,
Yeah.
his poetry is still beautiful, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The simplicity actually enhances the beauty. It allows the words and images to resonate on a deeper level.
Okay.
It's like a perfectly cut diamond.
Yeah.
Simple, elegant and incredibly powerful.
Speaking of powerful,
Yeah.
wasn't he also a master of rhythm and meter?
He was.
Okay.
Even when he was writing in free verse,
Mm-hmm.
his poems have this musical quality to them,
Yeah.
a natural flow and cadence that just draws you in.
I'm curious to hear an example.
Okay.
How does he use rhythm and sound to add another layer of meaning?
Let's revisit the opening lines of the Castilian Field.
Okay.
The land of Castile, land austere and bare, beneath a sun of fire, eternally clear.
Okay.
Can you hear the repetition of land of Castile? Yeah.
Those hard consonant sounds,
Mhm.
the slow, deliberate pace.
Wow, yeah. It creates this feeling of vastness, austerity.
Exactly.
It really echoes the landscape he's describing.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's like he's using the sounds of the words
Yeah.
to paint a sonic picture of Castile.
Okay.
And as you move through the collection,
Mm-hmm.
you see how Machado adapts his style
Okay.
to match the different themes and moods.
Mm.
The descriptive poems have this expansive,
Yeah.
meditative quality,
Okay.
while the elegies are more introspective and melancholic.
Right.
And the proverbs and songs,
Yeah.
they're written in a folksy, conversational tone.
It's like he's a composer,
Yeah.
writing different movements for a symphony.
Yes.
Oh.
But despite all those shifts in tone and style,
Yeah.
there's this constant thread of authenticity running through his work.
Mm.
It's as if you can hear his genuine voice in every poem,
Yeah.
speaking directly to you,
Okay.
sharing his heart and mind. This makes me think about how important authenticity is,
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with such personal and profound themes.
Mm.
It's what makes the poetry resonate with us.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of resonating with us,
Okay.
let's talk about how he uses imagery and symbolism.
Okay.
We've mentioned a few key symbols already.
Yeah.
The Castilian landscape, the
Mhm.
path water, and the sun.
Right.
But how does he actually weave those elements into the fabric of his poems?
Yeah, let's get specific.
Okay.
It's one thing to talk about symbolism in theory,
Right.
but I want to know how it works in practice.
Let's go back to Portrait,
Ah.
a poem where he describes Leonore.
Mm.
We talked about how he uses sunlight imagery,
Yeah.
but there's another striking line.
Okay.
Her eyes were wells of dark, profound.
That's such a powerful image.
Yeah.
It makes me think about how eyes are often called the windows to the soul.
Right.
But why describe them as wells of dark?
It's fascinating because it creates this contrast with the sunlight imagery.
Okay.
Her eyes,
Yeah.
they're a source of depth and mystery. Maybe even a touch of sadness or foreboding.
It's like he's saying there's more to her than meets the eye.
Yeah.
Literally.
Exactly.
He's creating a sense of depth and complexity.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it's not just visual imagery either.
Okay.
He uses sounds and smells to really immerse you in the experience of his poems.
Right.
For instance, in Orillas del Duero, he
Mhm.
writes, "The wind sighs in the poplars, and the river carries the scent of rosemary and thyme."
It's like you're right there with him on the banks of the river.
Exactly.
I can almost feel the wind and smell the herbs.
He wants you to experience the poem with all your senses.
Wow.
And those sensory details often carry symbolic weight.
Right.
The sighing wind might symbolize the passage of time.
Yeah.
The river's flow could represent life's journey.
Hmm.
And the herbs might evoke a sense of place or memory.
It's like he's using all these different elements,
Yeah.
imagery, sound, symbolism,
Yeah.
to create this tapestry of meaning and emotion.
He is.
Wow.
It's what makes his poetry so multi-layered and engaging.
Yeah.
You can read it on the surface level
Mm-hmm.
and appreciate the beauty of the language,
Oh,
but
yeah.
then you can dig deeper
Yeah.
and uncover all these layers of meaning and symbolism.
So it's not just about pretty words.
Right.
It's about engaging with life on a deeper level.
Exactly.
But isn't there also a layer of irony and ambiguity in his work?
Mhm.
I feel like he's not always giving us straightforward answers.
Yeah.
Okay.
He loves to play with irony,
Yeah.
especially when he's commenting on social or political issues.
Mm.
And he often leaves room for interpretation,
Okay.
inviting the reader to bring their own experiences and perspectives to the poems.
Can you give us an example of how he uses irony in Fields of Castile?
Think back to Orillas del Duero again.
Okay.
He describes the Castilian people with this mix of admiration and criticism.
Austerity and nobility, silent and strong, like their land they watch the centuries pass, indifferent to their own fate.
Wow.
He admires their strength and resilience,
Okay.
but he also hints at a certain passivity, a resignation to their fate.
He's giving us a layered portrait of his people.
Yes.
Strong yet complacent,
Yeah.
rooted in tradition, yet perhaps a bit stuck in the past.
And this ironic tone encourages us to question our own assumptions
Okay?
about progress, tradition, and what it truly means to be strong.
It's like he's saying, don't just accept things at face value.
What?
Think critically.
Yeah.
Question everything.
Exactly. And this critical perspective often comes with a touch of humor,
Okay.
a subtle wit that prevents his work from becoming too heavy or preachy.
Can you think of an example where his humor shines through?
Well, one that comes to mind is from Proverbs and Songs,
Okay.
where he writes, "Traveler, there is no path. The path is made by walking." On the surface, it's simple advice about taking action.
And creating your own destiny.
Right.
But then there's that deeper layer of irony you mentioned.
Yeah.
He's saying make your own path,
Yeah.
while also acknowledging that we're all on this journey together,
Mhm.
searching for meaning.
It's like he's saying, yeah, I'm giving you advice,
Yeah,
but you got to figure it out for yourself too.
you got it.
Okay.
He's not handing us a roadmap.
Mhm.
He's inviting us into a conversation,
Okay.
a journey of exploration.
I love that. It
Yeah.
makes the reading experience so much more interactive and engaging.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the reasons why Fields of Castile continues to resonate with readers today.
Okay.
It's not just a collection of beautiful poems.
Right.
It's an invitation to think for ourselves,
Yeah.
to question the world around us, and to find our own meaning within his words.
Machado really knew how to make poetry relevant to everyday life, didn't he?
He did.
I'm starting to get a sense of his lasting legacy,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd love to hear your take on it. Why does Fields of Castile still matter in the 21st century? We'll dive into that when we come back for the final part of our deep dive.
We'll explore that very question.
Okay.
Stay with us.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the heart of Spain and the poetry of Antonio Machado.
It's been quite a journey so far.
We've journeyed through the stark beauty of Castile, explored themes of love, loss, and national identity woven into Fields of Castile,
Yeah.
and uncovered some of the subtle stylistic choices
Right.
that make his poetry so enduring.
It's amazing how a collection of poems published over a century ago can still feel so relevant today.
Right. So for this final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
let's talk legacy.
Right.
What is the lasting impact of Fields of Castile? Why does it continue to resonate with readers in the 21st century?
One reason Fields of Castile endures is that it taps into this very human longing to connect with something bigger than ourselves.
Okay.
Whether that's nature, history, tradition, or a shared sense of identity.
And we've seen how Machado masterfully weaves together personal experience,
Right.
national identity,
Yeah.
and philosophical reflection.
He's not just telling his own story.
Well-
He's giving us a glimpse into the Spanish soul.
Exactly. He's exploring these timeless questions about what it means to be human.
Yeah.
How do we deal with loss and change?
Mm-hmm.
How do we find meaning in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain?
Right. These are questions we're still grappling with today.
And he does it all with such beauty and clarity.
He does.
It's like he's inviting us to look inward and reflect on our own lives and experiences.
He is, and I think that's a big part of why Fields of Castile continues to speak to readers across cultures and generations. It
Wow.
reminds us of the power of poetry to connect us to our shared humanity, to help us make sense of the world around us, and to find solace and inspiration when things get tough.
It's not just a historical artifact.
Right.
It's a living, breathing work of art
Yeah.
that still has something to teach us.
I agree.
Right.
And let's not forget the historical context.
Okay.
Fields of Castile captures this pivotal moment in Spanish history,
Right.
that period of soul-searching after the loss of Spain's colonies.
Right. We talked about the generation of 98
Yeah.
and their efforts to redefine Spanish identity.
Machado's work is a powerful expression of both the anxieties and hopes of a nation
Okay.
trying to figure out its place in a changing world.
But it's bigger than just one nation's story.
Right.
It speaks to any group of people who are facing rapid change and uncertainty, whether it's a country, a community,
Yeah.
or even just an individual.
Absolutely. It reminds us that times of transition,
Yeah.
though often difficult,
Mhm.
can also be opportunities for growth, renewal,
Okay.
and self-discovery.
So there's a message of resilience and hope woven into Machado's work,
Yes.
even amidst all the melancholy and loss.
He's not sugarcoating the challenges,
Right.
but he suggests that by connecting with nature,
Okay.
tradition, and our shared humanity,
Yeah. We can find the strength to face those challenges head on.
Okay.
And emerge with a renewed sense of purpose.
earlier we mentioned a few writers who were influenced by Machado.
Right.
I'm curious to hear more about how his work has shaped the landscape of Spanish literature.
Machado's influence on later poets,
Yeah.
particularly those who came after him, like Miguel Hernandez and Luis Cernuda,
Okay.
is undeniable.
Mm.
They were inspired by his straightforward yet symbolic style,
Yeah.
his ability to find profound meaning in the everyday,
Mm-hmm.
and his exploration of those big themes,
Right.
nature, love, and loss.
So he wasn't just a great poet.
Right.
He was a pioneer who opened up new possibilities for expression.
He was, and his influence goes beyond Spain, too.
Wow.
Poets and writers from all over the world have been inspired by his work.
Okay.
His ability to capture the human experience in such simple yet profound language.
It's pretty incredible to think that a collection of poems written in a small town in Castile
Yeah.
could have such a global impact. It really is. It speaks to the power of art to transcend borders and connect us across cultures and time.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Fields of Castile, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from this exploration of Machado's work?
I hope they'll remember that even in times of uncertainty and loss,
Yeah.
there's beauty to be found in the world around us.
Okay.
There's meaning to be made,
Mm-hmm.
and there are connections to be forged. Machado's poetry reminds us to slow down,
Okay.
pay attention to the little things,
Yeah.
and find solace in the simple yet profound truths that connect us all.
And maybe to find inspiration in those stark landscapes,
Mhm.
both the external ones like Castile
Yeah,
and the internal ones we all face,
right.
because those challenges can push us to dig deeper and discover our own resilience.
Beautifully put. And if there's one poem I'd encourage our listeners to check out, it's
Wow.
The Traveler.
Hmm.
It really embodies a lot of what we've discussed today.
Yeah.
The journey of life, the search for meaning,
Yeah.
the importance of forging our own path,
Right.
and the enduring power of hope.
That's a great recommendation.
Thanks.
Thank you for guiding us through this insightful journey into the heart of Spain and the soul of a poet.
It's been my pleasure. And to our listeners,
Yeah.
may you always find your path,
Hmm.
even when it seems like there isn't one.
Okay.
May your journeys be filled with wonder and discovery.
Hmm.